Welcome to the Redvee TV preview show, supported by A-Star Recruitment for the 2021 season, as we look ahead to St Helens round 4 trip to the Huddersfield Giants this Thursday evening in the only Super League that matters. Good evening, Kevin.
Good evening, David.
Yeah, just like our 8.5 minutes of the weekend, chip paper by Tuesday. We've got a lot in common with that Super League that isn't going to happen.
Yeah, it's a tumultuous night for football, isn't it? Yeah, it's all falling apart pretty quickly.
But we're a Rugby League show, so we will discuss branding a little bit later. Huddersfield on Thursday evening. They've not had a great start to the season, but always run as close, it seems, at the John Smith Stadium, if that's what it's still called.
Yeah, they do. It's always a tough place to go over there. I think as well, even though they're on a bad run, it was alluded to in the press conference with Christian Wolf today that literally something could click for them. And we've seen how few of us saw how that first half went against Wakefield, where we weren't really creating anything. We looked good defensively, but we weren't really creating anything. And all it needs is a team who can unlock that defence once or twice. And already, if you're 12-0 down at half-time and you've almost, as we alluded to, how we just play to a plan, but you end up starting throwing it about because you start worrying a little bit. That's exactly what you don't need to do. You just need to stick to it. I'm worried of this game. Still confident that we've got more than enough to beat them, but Huddersfield, every time we play them, I'm always wary of playing them.
Yeah, I did indeed get the stadium name right, which is a first. Yeah, it just seems like you talk about it in the football. You don't want to go to Stoke on a cold Tuesday night. Well, you don't want to go to a deserted John Smith Stadium in Huddersfield on a cold Thursday night either. Especially with no fans in, although that probably isn't any different than any other year when we go over there.
Controversial.
But it's true, isn't it? Let's be honest. It's a half-empty stadium, if that.
It's a shame, isn't it?
Aidan Caesar's back in the team. He made his first appearance last weekend for them. He'll be good for that. And then they've got Jack Cogger, is he, in the side?
Yeah.
Fellow half. Sounds like he's going to maim you. Proper brutal name. But yeah, they've got decent players, haven't they? And obviously, Ian Watson has shown it, what he did at Salford, that he will get it right at some point. Yeah,
you'd think so. That's it. You're right. Aidan Caesar will be better for that run out. He'll be obviously a weak match sharper. Let's hope it's not too sharp as well. Good to see Lee Gaskell got over the dive from weekend. But you're right, they've got players like Luke Yates. I mean, Josh Jones, who was at our place and didn't really rip up any trees when he was at Hull, but looks like he's kind of going to be settled there a little bit closer to home. And you think that Ian Watson will get the best out of him over there. He's done it at Salford. There's no reason why he can't do the same at Huddersfield.
Do you look at Josh Jones and think he must really, really regret his decision to leave Saints?
Well, he left to go to rugby union, didn't he? And that all kind of didn't work out, I think, because I think they had a little one. Him and his partner had a little one. They were so far away because he went to Exeter that they had no support bubble down there. That they couldn't kind of get into the network, and they had to come back up. Does he regret it? Possibly, but I think it's the nature of sport as well that sometimes you do move on and you'll make good and bad decisions in life in general, but you'll make good and bad decisions. I'm sure he kind of enjoyed his time up at Salford because they were properly punching, what you say, above the weight. So it's just going to Hull was probably a bad move for him. But he'll be looking to get his form back at Huddersfield. I don't think he'll regret it too much. It's just how life is.
He doesn't seem to cope well going to the extremities of the country. First he goes to Exeter, and then he goes to Hull and back. But yeah, hindsight is a wonderful thing. just as the owners of Liverpool FC are probably going to find out very shortly. Okay, we'll go on to the squads. Sorry, I'm having digs tonight. Legacy fans, eh? That's what we are.
Exactly, yeah.
Squad news, Saints, Tommy Makinson is missing out. I think he went off in the closing minutes of that game against Wakefield. So he misses out, but he will be okay for next week, says Christian Wolf. Sio Matautia is named in the squad. Tom Nisbet's in there as well. You look at that squad, and who misses out? Probably Dan Norman, probably again.
Yeah.
What do you do on the wing? Do you put Percival back in at centre? Move Kevin Nagama to the wing and put Wellesby on the right side? Or do you put Tom Nisbet in on the wing?
I think if Percy's fit, then Wellesby and Kevin Nagama will make up that right-hand side. What order they'll be in, I don't know. Is it the case of you don't reshuffle a load? Is it you just literally keep Kevin Nagama where he is and put Wellesby? Do you ease Percy back in by putting him on the wing? I've seen it put on social media that that's an option. I'd stick Percy if he's fit. I'd stick him back in left centre. I'd probably put Kev on the wing and put Wellesby in at centre, just because Wellesby's got a good pair of hands, and as we saw at weekend, set Regan Grace away for a couple of tries and kind of had a hand in quite a bit when he's a little bit more central. So I'd put him in at centre. If Percy isn't fit, then I wouldn't start shuffling it round and putting like Matautia into the centres. I'd give Tom Nisbet to go out on the wing.
Personally, with Tommy out, I would just like to see Tom Nisbet get a game. He had that one. I don't know whether it was against Leeds. It was definitely at Headingley, where he coughed the ball up going over the line. Should have scored. Probably having nightmares about it still. He deserves a chance. Was it the Salford game? It was at Headingley. I think he deserves a chance. And if you know what, if your winger's out, put a winger straight in and go like for like. Whether that'll happen.
You say that though, but that's all dependent on Percival being fit. If Percival's 100% and they've got no reason not to play him, then you don't drop Jack Wellesby, you don't drop Kevin Nagama. Nisbet comes in if Percy's out. You don't just drop him straight in for Tommy Makinson if Percy's fit.
See, I disagree. You've seen Jake Wingfield got his chance at the weekend and grabbed it. And do you know what? Sometimes it takes an injury to see what these young players are made of. We're essentially not far off being a fully fit side. You've got nothing to lose for me by putting Nisbet on the wing, especially at this point of the season where, do you know what? You're going to be able to afford to lose a few. You're not going to, if Tommy Makinson's only going to be out this week, you're not going to ever put Nisbet in to replace him or Regan Grace. So find out now what the lad can do.
So if Percy's fit 100%, does he play then? Or are you playing a back line of Coote, Nisbet, Nagama, Wellesby and Grace, even if Percy's 100% fit?
I'm playing Nisbet on the wing with Wellesby inside him. And I'm playing Kevin Nagama and Grace on the other side. And I'm putting Percy on the bench to ease him back in, because we've seen at the start of the season, we started him off and he broke down in the game. Do you know what? Just ease him in, give him 20, 25 minutes.
I don't necessarily agree with that. I don't necessarily agree with, if you're going to ease him in, he's almost got to play a bit longer than 20, 25 minutes as a centre.
In that case, then, do you put Tom Nisbet on the bench then?
No, you can, because you can move things about a little bit. Like they're fascinating. If you've got Saints TV, like anybody watching this, if you've got Saints TV, just watch the press conference from today. It's Mike Critchley asking some of the questions to Christian Wolf, and there's a fascinating chat about someone who we've not mentioned here, Lewis Dodd, and the kind of number 14 bench position and who he'd go with and who's currently in pole position, but you'd imagine it's Lewis Dodd. And he's talking about Dodd playing one a little bit, and how we got 10 minutes of that at the weekend, playing at fullback when they took Coote off. And he said it's good for his development. So I think on the bench, when you go for your bench spots, you don't put someone on as a centre just to play in 20, 25 minutes. I think you play someone who can play a whole host of positions and you're going to get longer than them. If Percy's fit, he just plays. I don't think you put him on the bench and then go, right, we're going to go with 3 subs, and you probably then go with 3 forwards. I don't think you do that. I think you either play him and he starts in the left centre position, or you don't play him at all and he doesn't make the 17.
Looking at that squad, I'm confident, and I think this says a lot for the way the club's been run over the last couple of years, that we could put any selection of 17 of them out and they were more than capable of doing the job. And I'm including, obviously, Wingfield, Dan Norman, Tom Nisbet, Lewis Dodd, Joe Batchelor in that as well. And they're your fringe players, essentially, this season, aren't they? And they're all able to step up. Yeah,
you're right. That's it. As part of that conversation that Christian Wolf was having with Mike Critchley, he's on about the lads who kind of have come in and saying that Jake Wingfield looked like a Super League player, looked good hands, and he was saying all the positions that he can play, not saying he will play them, but saying that he can do, saying that Aaron Smith will get a go. And I know we've talked about it extensively, about how Aaron Smith, you'd think he was the next in line, but it seems like Lewis Dodd's gone ahead of him for that 14th man spot. And as I say, it was just fascinating to see how he thinks about it and how much ahead he thinks about it, and how he turns around and says, listen, it goes game by game and it goes on the situation that we've got. He doesn't just turn around and say, Aaron Smith's going to have a goal for the next 4 weeks. He said he'll get his chance again, which is great. As we've said all along, the lad has got, he's played for Saints. You know, mug if you play for Saints, especially in a team that's won the past 2 grand finals. You know, mug if you're getting into that squad regular. So that's good to hear. But you're right. I've seen people saying they want to see Dan Norman get a shot as starting prop. He will do sooner rather than later. But you'd imagine that your bench this week is going to be something like Dodd and Moore, LMS, and then whoever Christian Wolf picks between Wingfield and Batchelor. And I don't know if Wingfield's versatility might actually stand him in better stead.
After this one coming up, we've obviously got Lee, Salford at home, the Huddersfield Cup game in between those. Maybe Lee next week, maybe a chance to shuffle things around a little bit.
Yeah, possibly so. That's it. I don't necessarily think that he'll make major changes, but the likes of teams who you would think would traditionally struggle down the bottom of the table, I get a chance to make 1 or 2 changes. The likes of your Aaron Smith starting and Roby taking 14th man.
Do you know what, Kev? That was going to be my next question to you. With it being a short 6-day turnaround, do we manage James Roby's game time this week, maybe? Give him a week off?
Yeah. Again, I mean, as I keep alluding back to this press conference, and the same, Christian Wolf was saying that he doesn't want to overload James Roby early in the season. He doesn't want to be asking him to do massive minutes. We saw that at weekend. Lewis Dodd comes on after 50 minutes. And that's what we need to do. So having the likes of Aaron Smith, Josh Eaves, Lewis Dodd, you mentioned Jake Wingfield playing 9 as well. It's potentially something that you could turn around and say, right, you know what, if it's not going our way after 20 minutes, you can bring Roby on and you can play him in 2 20-minute spells or 20 minutes and 15 minutes. And Aaron Smith plays and starts and kind of he's given that chance that he needs. He needs to get hold of a game like that, take it by the scruff of the neck. It's different playing a Good Friday game against Wigan than it is playing against Lee. No disrespect, atmosphere is different, the whole spectacle's different. But this is the time when you think that the likes of them, Dan Norman possibly getting a bench space ahead of Joe Batchelor or something like that. They're the games where you can probably make 1 or 2 changes, and it's not to the detriment of the team making, say, 4 or 5.
See, I think maybe this week you do rest a few people on the basis that we're going to be playing Huddersfield again in a fortnight's time in the Cup. You don't want to show your full hand. It gives people like James Roby a chance to have a break. And then you put them in next week, make sure everybody's fully fit and firing in the league game, and then you go into that Cup game. in a rich vein of form. Not that we're not already in one, but you can manage your season out. And obviously, you say what Christian Wolff was saying in the press conference about taking it game by game, but there's got to be an element of looking ahead, especially with the Challenge Cup coming up.
There will be, but when you say showing the hand, every game is either televised or available in full. So they'll see how we play, and the way that Wolf talks, he's almost, it's not that he's not interested in how somebody else plays, but he knows that we've got enough to beat everybody else. So he was being asked about Ian Watson and things clicking, and he said, "Oh yeah, I don't know." He said, "Because I'm not over there and I'm not part of the squad." So it was almost one of them that he's not blasé about it. He's not saying they don't do the homework on it. But when you say showing our hand, it doesn't matter. If we're good enough and we stick to our game plans, stick to us guns, to sound like Paul, do you love it? Back in the day, that's one for the slightly older fans.
The legacy fans.
But if we stick, the legacy fans. But if we stick to our game plan, it almost doesn't matter. We shut Huddersfield down. We stop them making yards. We stop Caesar getting kicks away. Half the job's done.
Does that go back to what we were saying at the weekend about, although we were 0-0 at half time, we've just carried on with the process. We stick to our plan A because we know we're a machine and we'll eventually get the job done.
Yeah, and as I said at the time as well, I think that sometimes you do need a plan B, probably a plan C as well. But we're that confident in what we're doing that we can just turn around and say, right, we'll shut them down and we'll be able to do more than they will. We're going to score one more than you. That's what we'll do. We're that confident, and that comes across from the coaching staff and the players.
I nearly started singing Vindaloo then. Huddersfield squad. Some names in there, isn't there? Kenny Edwards, who none of us have ever forgiven. Obviously, Lee Gaskell's still going strong. Josh Jones, ex-Saints players. Jack Ashworth may have a point to prove against us as well.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I was speaking to Huddersfield fans prior to the season starting, and they were saying that their only worry was they were a bit light up front. They had a mobile pack, but they didn't think that they had anyone who would, like an Alex Walmsley does, who pretty much gets bodies into him, and he's got 3 or 4 hanging off him, and he's still making yards.
Or an Ikehefo.
Yes, Seb Ikehefo. I bet that's wrong as well. But yeah, they were just thinking that they might have been a bit small up front. But you know what? If they're mobile, there's no saying they can't still make them yards. We've just got to be on our game. If we're on our game, then yeah, you'd imagine the likes of Parsley and Walmsley can just start punching holes and kind of taking the game too.
It's delivery, but not as good.
Not a clue.
Don't even know what it is. I can't read it. But yeah, but yeah, you look at that squad. There's still players that can hit it, isn't it? Jermaine McGilvery, Darnell McIntosh, Leroy Cudjoe coming. Obviously, it feels like he's been around forever. But they've got strike players in that team.
Yeah, I like Wardle. I think he's a good player, to be fair. But yeah, that's it. It's like a solid squad. You look at it, and it's just like a solid squad where they've got, as you say, they've got some strike players in there. They've got players who can hurt you. But as I say, I'm not trying to be like cocky about it. But you look at that squad, would you swap it for any of ours? No.
How many of those players get into Saints 21-man squad? Aidan Caesar? Yeah.
Wardle possibly would. Aidan Caesar. We'll probably have other people turning around and saying, "Oh, he would." But Luke Yates probably. I'd probably go Wardle, Caesar, Yates for me.
Okay. Predictions for Thursday night then?
Saints by 16.
Ooh, I was going to say exactly the same. So I'll say it's, yeah, we'll agree on that one. We might have to place a little wager on that to the point.
Yeah.
Right, that's the rugby league talk done.
Oh, before we finish then, Saints women's team beat the Bradford Bulls women's team 86-0 on Sunday. What a result and what a marker that is to start the season. It's great to see it getting so much coverage, the game getting so much coverage. One of the games was on Twitch. It wasn't ours, unfortunately. But yeah, it looks like they've started the season really, really well. So good on them. And hopefully, when we can get back into stadiums, we can nip down and maybe grab a word with one or two of the women's team and see how things are going.
We appear to have recruited really well, picked up some of the best players, or the women's players from the Yorkshire sides. Yeah. I'm not sure the result was closer than it sounds at the weekend, but I think you can probably safely say that it's going to be Saints, Wigan, Cass, and probably Leeds up at the top end of the table. Warrington doing what they always do and trailing everybody's weight.
Correct.
Right, so we say rugby league talk is finished. I want to talk the Super League, not from a football perspective, but obviously when it got announced on Sunday night, the real Super League Twitter account got absolutely bombarded with fans from all over the world criticising it. And you think, are there too many leagues now using the moniker of Super League? Is it time that Rugby League takes a chance to rebrand, reclaim the name rugby, become Rugby 13, do something a little bit different? Because for me, that Super League name now is forever going to be tainted with a bunch of greedy corporate things.
So-and-so's.
Yes.
I thought you were going to say a different C word when you started saying corporate.
Don't know any naughty C words.
No, fair enough. It's only because I live in Widnes now. I've heard some. To answer your first question, are there too many leagues now known as Super Leagues? Yes. Is it time for us to change it and reclaim the name rugby and make it unique? Probably yes. It's not going to be the answer to all of our prayers to make rugby league the most known and played and watched sports in this country. But yeah, we've got to be unique. That's it. The Super League website, like Twitter and Facebook and whatever, they should have been literally on it, pumping out clips and bits and interviews and everything like that every 10 minutes as soon as this Super League was announced. They should have absolutely hammered it. But probably now, is it time to move on from Super League? Yeah, you'd probably say so.
But obviously not until we've put out this video on YouTube, hashtag the word Super League 10 million times, and gained a lot of new Redvee viewers in America, China, Singapore, Russia, Indonesia.
They have trouble. They'll put the closed captions on, and it won't tell them what one Scouse accent or one Haydock accent are saying, because they won't be able to understand a word.
Because I'm not being funny, Kev. The likes of Neil Connolly, Peter Elder, Kev Cunningham, Dave Howarth, Jack Leavesley. We don't need those legacy fans on Redvee anymore. we're thinking of the future. Welcome to our new overlords. Just like the Super League, we last 10 minutes.
So we're going for the fans of the future now.
Fans of the future, yeah.
Fair enough.
We might even get Steve Mescord on board.
Maybe. Yeah. Well, he just needs to cheer up a bit, does Steve? I've recently started following on my own Twitter account. I've never seen anybody so morose about the game. I mean, come on, smile, mate.
Yeah, he's always been interested in franchises. You know what? We'll have to see if we can get him on at some point for a chat.
You're right.
He's a good bloke. I like winding him up. I think I was talking about Interplanetary Super League the other day. But yeah, do you know what? He's someone who's got the best interest of the games at heart. And do you know what? It takes
Yeah.
people to have outlandish and out of the box ideas for things to happen. Obviously not if you're one of the Florentino Perez, whatever his name is, saying the reason 16 to 24-year-olds don't watch the sport anymore is that 90 minutes is too long for them.
Not that it's like 77 quid an away tickets at Ellen Road or anything.
No, obviously not that reason.
No.
But maybe, do you know what? Maybe this reduce the length of the game for like 10 minutes, pick it up and start passing it backwards.
Yeah, exactly. But you're only allowed to do it 6 times. Let's not start getting into ruck and mauls, eh?
Right, I think we're done, Kevin. Right, I'm going back onto social media to enjoy the rest of the evening and watching all the images and things coming up this evening because it's quite fun.
As long as you're not going getting back in the bath, it's an image that will haunt me for the rest of my days.
That's how it's soaked up for you, Kev. Right, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. See, look at him on that picture. He's just imagining me now.
No, I'm really not.
Right.
I'm trying to keep my tea down.
Right, we'll catch you Thursday for another instant fan reaction following Saints' trip to Huddersfield, which this one we will see the 80 minutes. Catch you soon.